In the number 10 spot, we have A-Force. A-Force was an Avengers team introduced during the Secret Wars storyline, and it was the first Avengers team that was entirely female comprised. The team was made with the purpose of protecting the battle world of Arcadia. The group was led by She-Hulk and consisted of other members such as Singularity, Dazzler, and Medusa. The team even made it over into the main Marvel continuity, but the A-Force series ended after a decline in popularity. You can't just put a bunch of kick-ass women together, you have to have the writing to go with it. Coming in at number 9 is Avengers 2099. Another team from the Secret Wars storyline was the Avengers of the future, namely the year 2099. This team was corporately sponsored by a company called Alchemax, a mega corporation that basically owns the world by then. The heroes of this Avengers team were slightly familiar faces with huge twists. For example, Captain America was a woman named Roberta Mendez, Hercules joins the team despite being an alcoholic, and Hawkeye was a literal half-hawk after having his DNA spliced, which, not gonna lie, would be pretty awesome. Next at number 8 we got Great Lake Avengers. One of my personal favorites because we all know I hate to be serious for too long. The Great Lakes Avengers were a ragtag group put together by Mr. Immortal and appearing first in the West Coast Avengers series, with members like Big Bertha who had the power of obesity and Doorman who can turn his body into a door whenever he wants. You can just imagine how unstoppable they were. Not very. In the number 7 spot is A-Next. The MC2 universe brings us A-Next, which was a relaunch of the formerly disbanded Avengers that came together when the Avengers Museum was under attack. Answering a call for help is the new Thunderstrike, Stinger, Jubilee, and a few other younger heroes. This leads them to traveling to Asgard and facing off against Loki, and it's really nice to see characters we don't hear a ton about take on such a prominent role. Coming in at number 6 we have Vampire Avengers. These guys sucked, and I mean that in the best way possible. Please don't hate me for that. In the universe of Earth 3931, Captain America was turned into a vampire by Baron Blood, and pretty soon he had all of the Avengers on this particular team craving the red stuff. It had to take the Exiles to put an end to their rampage, but as anyone would know, it takes a lot of work to get rid of a vampire. They didn't have any garlic on hand, but luckily Sunfire was able to lend a few flames. Next up at number 5 is Dark Avengers. The Dark Avengers were a part of the Secret Invasion storyline and were headed by none other than Norman Osborn, who has now become a public hero with the name Iron Patriot. Wonder where he got that one from. He renames S.H.I.E.L.D. to Hammer and creates a new Avengers lineup that includes members such as Sentry, Bullseye, and Ares. So basically a team of villains pretending to be superheroes, all to aid Osborn's quest for power. Up next at number 4 is New Avengers. Because everyone had to have a turn at making an Avengers team after the true Avengers fell apart. After a chance breakout at an island prison called the Raft, Captain America, Iron Man, Luke Cage, Daredevil, and a couple others ganged up and prevented about half the prisoners from escaping. This inspired them to create a new Avengers team that would operate without a base. A couple heroes didn't join the cause, they weren't too crazy about the idea, but an imposter certainly liked it. The Skrull Queen, in disguise as Spider-Woman. Sounds like a bit of trouble. In the number 3 spot we have Zombie Avengers. The Avengers were still together at the time of the zombie invasion that took place on Earth 2149, but slowly their members at the time such as Colonel America, Black Widow, and Hawkeye were infected and began to feast on sweet humanity, even going so far as to put out a fake Avengers Assemble call to draw in prey. Like I always say, food over everything. Coming in at number 2 is the Pet Avengers. I know I said the Great Lakes Avengers were my fave, but I can't resist when our favorite heroes are turned into cuddly animals. At least some of them are cuddly. In order to track down the Infinity Gems, the telepathic bulldog Lockjaw assembled a team that includes some other fluffy or slippery members such as Throg the Froggy Thor, Falcon's Bird Redwing, and Speedball's cat Hairball, who named himself, in case you were wondering who names their cat Hairball. And finally, in the number 1 spot we've got the Ultimates. Belonging to the Ultimate Universe, the Ultimates were formed by Nick Fury to defend America from threats of superhuman stature. Founding members included Captain America, Giant Man, Iron Man, Wasp, and the Hulk, although the Hulk caused more than enough trouble for the team. This team is actually more so the Avengers that the MCU movie based itself off. A team that hasn't come together on their own doing to tackle tasks they can't handle individually, but rather coming together under strict government orders.
Surfing in at number 10, West Coast Avengers. The West Coast Avengers are made up of Tigra, Wonder Man, and James Rhodey Rhodes, led by veteran Avenger Hawkeye along with his wife Mockingbird. The team also offered a spot to Hank Pym, but he declined originally to work as the team's scientist and tech support. He would later join the team with Moon Knight after their first mission. James Rhodes also took on the role of Iron Man for the team, which most of them believe to still be Tony. The West Coast Avengers Avengers though were the first of the alternate Avengers and debuted in West Coast Avengers #1, written by Roger Stern. They were formed because most of the original team were kidnapped, and with the threat of an invasion to Earth by the Dire Wraiths, Vision then declared himself the chairman and convincing the government to establish the new team. Number 9. Young Avengers. This team of young ragtag superheroes came from Iron Lad, traveling from the future to flee from Kang the Conqueror. When he arrives at Stark Industries though, he uploads Vision's AI to his Iron Man suit, which then triggers the Avengers failsafe program. The failsafe program was a way of recruiting descendants of the Avengers if the original team were ever disbanded. This came to fruition after the events of the Avengers disassembled, where the original team was split up due to key members being killed or exiled. The Young Avengers team consists of Eli Bradley, the Patriot, Billy Kaplan, also known as Wiccan, and Teddy Altman, aka Hulking, which sounds like something the Hulk does when transforming. Hey, what's that guy doing? Oh, he's just hulking. The team became the Young Avengers when they invited Cassie Lang and Kate Bishop to join the ranks. Number 8. Mighty Avengers. This team may be mighty, but has had leadership issues to boot. It began with Iron Man forming the team under the government's 50 State Initiative. He chose Carol Danvers, aka Miss Marvel, to lead the team, and in her corner she had Ares, Black Widow, the Sentry, the Wasp, and Wonder Man. Unfortunately, due to a Skrull invasion, Tony was blamed for failing to stop it and was soon replaced by Norman Osborn. Under new management, he decides to create his own team, causing a majority of the originals to quit. Then, Hank Pym had his turn, organizing it as an international team when he donned the Wasp outfit in memory of his deceased wife. After Hank, Luke Cage then came along. He created another new team to combat the Thanos invasion of Earth because the main team, they were just hanging out in space. But nothing beats the original Mighty Avengers though. Just look at them. Number 7. Avengers Resistance. United in a fight against Norman Osborn, this resistant team is made of Tigra and Gauntlet. After Norman took over the Avengers, he wanted to essentially steal Tigra's baby, which was half Skrull, and he wanted to use it for research into anti-Skrull weaponry. He also demotes the Gauntlet around the same time, which causes the pair to escape and become fugitives. While being chased down by the Osborns' villainous team, the pair are rescued by the New Warriors. Tigra then announces that with their help and their newfound teammates of Rage and Justice, they are now comprised of enough former Avengers to then create the Avengers Resistance. Number 6. Secret Avengers. This team looks so damn cool, and it's probably one of my favorites because of the variety of the members and their covert style. They remind me of a comic book version of SEAL Team 6 because of the way that the team operates. They were handpicked by Captain America to protect the world's security as a sub-team of the Avengers. This Black Ops squad consisted of Sharon Carter, Black Widow, Moon Knight, Ant-Man, Beast, War Machine, Valkyrie, and Nova. That is a stellar lineup of heroes. With espionage experts like Carter, Widow, Moon Knight, and Ant-Man combined, with the muscle of War Machine, Valkyrie, and Nova, this team is an unstoppable force that can take out problems with silent precision. Number 5. Avengers Unity Division. This team made their very first appearance in the Uncanny Avengers, which is a perfect start for this uncanny team of heroes. The team began with Captain America and Thor approaching Havoc to enlist the help of the Scarlet Witch, Rogue, and Wolverine, along with Wasp, Sunfire, and Wonder Man. Unity Division explains the team perfectly. After the war between the Avengers and the X-Men, it kinda made Cap feel guilty for not doing enough to assist the mutants. He dreamed of helping improve the relationships between humans and mutants, and to lead the team he chose Cyclops, which was Havoc's brother, to rep the mutants much like his brother did with the X-Men. The team, however, didn't come into full form until issue number 5 of the Uncanny Avengers, where they made their public debut. Number 4. Astonishing Avengers. This team is especially cool because it's made up of villains and begins with a powerful quote by Magneto where he said, "Right now the world doesn't need heroes, it needs villains." Magneto pulls together a team made up of Deadpool, Absorbing Man, Carnage, Doctor Doom, Enchantress, Hobgoblin, Jack-o'-lantern, Loki, Mystique, and Sabretooth. The team was created under an unknown alias to combat the Red Skull attack, which Doom and Scarlet Witch actually casted a spell over to change Red Skull's personality to finally defeat him. This, however, not only changed Red Skull, but the rest of the team as well. And with Captain America watching and this whole change happen, he decided to recruit Magneto's team with the help of Nova and Spider-Man, thus naming the team the Astonishing Avengers. While in battle though, Carnage sacrificed himself, which then altered the team back to their normal state. Number 3. Avengers Idea Mechanics, or AIM for short. The team consisted of former X-Men member Sunspot, who joined at Cap's request in order to help people without being labeled an X-Man. Although, when Captain America decides to take on the Illuminati, Illuminati, Sunspot just leaves to take over a terrorist organization known as the Advanced Idea Mechanics. And after a successful takeover, he soon used their resources and rebranded as Avengers Idea Mechanics, so still AIM. But Sunspot then created a team of new Avengers with some of his former teammates as well, who also left after Cap went crazy with the Illuminati. The team, however, was under close watch from S.H.I.E.L.D., which implanted many spies to make sure that they didn't revert to AIM's terrorist past. Number 2. 1 million BC Avengers. This team was formed in a prehistoric time period to fight off ancient Celestials. These ancient Avengers were led by Odin and backed up by Iron Fist, the Star Brand, Ghost Rider, who actually rode a mammoth, Black Panther, the Phoenix, and a character who is very similar to Doctor Strange known as Agamotto. Ghost Rider Mammoth though has to be my favorite member by far. I mean, how cool is that? Number 1. Judgment League Avengers. This is our number 1 spot because to us it's the ultimate alternate version of the Avengers, comprised of, you guessed it, the Justice League and the Avengers. This Marvel DC clash is just too cool. Their team was made up of Super Soldier, a Captain America and Superman combo, Dark Claw, a Wolverine and Batman combo, Captain Marvel, a Captain Marvel mixed with Shazam, Hawkeye, a Green Arrow and Hawkeye mix, and Amazon, a Wonder Woman and Storm combination. These combos may seem silly, but they are by far my absolute favorite team of Avengers.
And at number 10, Ultimate's Hank Pym. Hank Pym of Earth 616 has had his fair share of scary moments, but nothing compares to his Earth 1610 Ultimate's counterpart, who is straight up villainous. While Pym's history of bad mental health related experiences are arguably no faults of his own in the main Marvel continuity, the actions of Ultimate Pym are rooted in jealousy and some serious anger issues. Pym was a mentally fragile scientist who was utterly brilliant, and gained his abilities after he experimented on the blood of his wife Janet, who was a mutant. The couple, already struggling in their marriage, join the Ultimates, and Janet befriends Captain America, who Hank gets irrationally jealous of. The two have a major physical fight with Hank pushing Janet around, and then she shrinks down to her wasp size. He then gets bug spray and uses it on her, leading her to be hospitalized. Cap would then beat the crap out of Hank for it, kicking him off the team. Later during the Ultimatum storyline, Hank teams up with Hawkeye to find his estranged wife after Magneto flooded the eastern seaboard, and Janet went missing. When they do find her, Blob is eating her corpse. Hank loses it, grows in size, and then rips off the Blob's head with his teeth. Enough said. And at number 9, What If World War Hulk. The Hulk, thanks to his gamma radiation and his ability to grow in power the angrier he gets, is an Avengers member who often finds himself in darker alternate stories than his teammates. What If World War Hulk is the first of a handful of these on our list. Back in 2010, a What If story took the World War Hulk storyline from 2007 and adapted it into a hypothetical scenario. For context, World War Hulk was the story event that followed Planet Hulk, which followed the Hulk's narrative after he was banished from Earth by the Illuminati, spending time on Sakaar. World War Hulk follows him returning to Earth with the intent of getting revenge. This What If comic leads to a much darker ending than its namesake event, with Iron Man attempting to take Hulk out with a satellite weapon, except this time it ends up killing Sentry, Mr. Fantastic, and Iron Man himself. When Secret Invasion rolls around without these three heroes still alive, Earth ends up pretty screwed, with 80% of the population getting killed off. Hulk attempts to lead the Avengers, but a Skrull pretending to be the Wasp sets off a genetic time bomb during an Avengers meeting. It kills all of them except for Hulk. Hulk goes to extreme measures, asking Galactus to put a stop to the madness altogether by consuming the Earth and all the Skrulls within it. Hulk ends up becoming his new herald, known as the World Breaker. And at number 8, Hulk the End. Speaking of the Hulk, let's take a look at another alternate version of the big green monster, one that is just as depressing. The End was a series of comics from Marvel that explored a possible future timeline for several of their characters, including the Hulk. Not all of them are depressing as this one, to give them credit. Anywho, this one-shot comic features Bruce Banner and the Hulk as the only survivors of a nuclear holocaust. Banner, unable to die, walks the Earth alone in sorrow, whereas the Hulk is angry that he's forced to be alive with only Banner left on the planet with him. Banner's psyche slowly fades away as the Hulk wanders around, getting attacked by mutant cockroaches, slowly regenerating, and so on and so forth. A camera from an alien species known only as the Recorder in the comic watches him from afar, confirming that humankind has been eliminated. Banner watches some of the horrific things that the camera has caught the Hulk enduring and regenerating from. Eventually, Banner dies, and the Hulk finally gets to be alone at last, only to realize that he is in fact alone forever. See what I mean about depressing? And at number 7, Marvel Zombies. We're talking about all of the Avengers in at this number. Marvel Zombies came out in 2005 and depicted pretty much the entirety of the Marvel universe on Earth being either brutally murdered, consumed, or transforming into a zombie. It was intense. And of course, one half of the creative team behind it was Robert Kirkman. Anywho, after the zombified heroes and villains managed to eat their way through the rest of the living on Earth, some of them managed to gain some cosmic powers thanks to the individuals they've consumed, and begin looking for more meals off planet. It's a little horrifying. And at 6, Iron Maniac. Iron Maniac is an evil version of Iron Man who hails from Earth 5012, first appearing in issue 2, volume 3 of Marvel Team Up. What's his deal? Well, on his Earth, the Avengers were mostly wiped out by an alien the name of Titanus. Reed Richards loses his crap, and thanks to an attack from the Human Torch, Iron Man is majorly scarred, causing him to adopt a suit of armor similar to Dr. Doom's. Iron Man decides to make it his mission to stop Reed Richards, who then banishes him to Earth 616. While there, Iron Maniac takes on the Fantastic Four and Dr. Doom, who all think he's a Doom imposter. When the war against Titanus doesn't break out and ruin 616 like it did in his world, Iron Maniac still goes after this Earth's heroes, deeming himself still as the sole survivor of a sane world living in a backwards, insane world. And at number 5, Ruin's Hulk. Ruins is by far one of the most depressing and dark alternate reality stories in the Marvel multiverse. Written in 1995 by Warren Ellis, it's set in a dystopian version of the Marvel Universe, and is a parody of the Marvels series, except notably more twisted. A reporter named Phil Sheldon explores the universe and sees how all of these superpowered individuals now suffer from a myriad of deformities and painful deaths. We learn that Captain America was into cannibalism, that the destruction of the last Avengers Quinjet is what killed Cap, Iron Man, Giant Man, and Wasp, and that the Hulk, thanks to his exposure to gamma radiation, has turned into this, a giant monstrous green mass of pulsating tumors. It ain't pretty. This happened when Banner saved his pal Rick Jones from getting hit with the experimental gamma bomb, and instead of, becoming the full-fledged Hulk, he became this. It's no bueno. And at number 4, Fascist Vision. In this 1990s What If, in the 1990s comic What If the Vision of the Avengers Conquer the World, issue 19 of the What If series, we see what the android would become if he were, well, a fascist. The story begins with Vision deciding that in order to achieve global order and any semblance of peace, he needs to implant himself within every single computer across the globe. As you can imagine, this doesn't go over well with humans. In the aftermath, New York City is nuked and Vision ends up becoming a supreme ruler of sorts over the planet, continuously being corrupted by all of his newfound power. He ends up taking his ambitions off planet too, seeking to control the Kree Empire, the Skrulls, and even the Badoon Empire. And at number 3, Hydra Cap. One of the more recent comic book controversies was found in the pages of Marvel's Captain America Steve Rogers comic, which led into the Secret Empire storyline of 2017. Long story short, it was revealed that Captain America had all along been a sleeper Hydra agent, helping lay the foundation for a global Hydra takeover. Cap literally said the words, "Hail Hydra," and comic book fans everywhere, along with like a chunk of the internet, freaked out. Cap, being a secret Nazi, went against everything that the character stood for, everything the character's historical context blossomed from. That's when Marvel pulled a Death of Superman-esque stunt and was like, hey guys, guess what? It isn't really the real Captain America who is a Nazi, it's one from an alternate reality. Here we have Stephen Rogers of Earth 61311, the Captain America who was developed as a child to be a supporter of Hydra thanks to the living embodiment of the Cosmic Cube and Red Skull's influence. And at number 2, Hulk Future Imperfect. This version of the Hulk, also known as Maestro, comes from Earth 9200 and first appeared back in 1992. This Earth takes place around 100 years into the future, where a nuclear war has taken out most of the superpowered individuals, and the human race faces extinction. Maestro, affected by the radiation, mixed with holding a grudge against humanity for how he's been treated, ends up taking over the planet as its ruler. His strength has multiplied thanks to the new radiation he's absorbed, and he still maintains Banner's intelligence. The present-day Hulk from Earth 616 believes that the Maestro's insanity has also contributed to his increase in power. 616 Hulk has fought against him before and has been privy to many future versions of himself, even realizing when aspects of Maestro become apparent in his life, like when he enjoyed taking out his rivals and when he contemplated growing a beard. Yes, actually. And finally, in at number 1, Old Man Logan's Hulk. There are a lot of devastating interpretations of characters on Old Man Logan's Earth, Earth 807128. After the supervillains took over, Hulk, whom some believed had slowly started to go insane thanks to absorbing additional radiation from an atomic bomb that was dropped on California, joined in on the evil shenanigans. He took over California, renamed it Hulkland, and then shagged up with his first cousin She-Hulk in order to create a whole inbred family of little Hulks, which was then called the Hulk Gang. Wolverine owed Hulk a debt and came up short with his rent, so Banner sent his children to press Logan, who struck up a deal with them to be a bodyguard for Clint Barton. While Logan was away, Banner ordered that his family be killed regardless. Logan then sought out revenge, killing Banner's family one by one, and eventually went after Banner himself. Banner tells Logan that he was hoping he'd go wild, wanting a good fight like the old days, and wanted his Wolverine back. The two fight and Bruce transforms into the Hulk and eats Logan whole, who then claws his way out of the Hulk's stomach, killing him. In at number 10, Henry Pym. Henry Pym of Earth 12091 is a literal humanoid ant. Pym was a member of the Avengers Federation, an Avengers team that appears in Space Punisher issue 4, which was released back in 2012. He differs from his 616 counterpart mainly due to his physical appearance, if that wasn't obvious. The character has 3 talons on each hand, 2 talons on each foot, and an insect head with antennae and 4 insect arms. Now, aside from having the same abilities as Henry Pym and this new bug body upgrade, not much else is known about this Ant-Man, aside from the fact that he was trying to stop the Kree-Skrull War by eliminating both sides with his fellow Avengers members. Moving on to number 9, Anti-Vision. Anti-Vision from Earth 932 is an evil version of Vision who was a member of the Gatherers, sent to infiltrate the Avengers. He possesses all of the same abilities as Vision, and ultimately meets his end when the Protector cuts him in half for betraying him, something Anti-Vision had done in an attempt to save his own butt. But what makes this version of Vision more deadly? Well, he shows more of a range of emotion than the regular 616 Vision does, especially when it comes to cruelty, with him depicting more delinquent behavior and enjoying causing others pain. Sadist much? And at number 8, the Infernal Hulk. This version of the Hulk came from Earth 11638, in which Bruce Banner was the Sorcerer Supreme of that Earth. Banner separated himself from the Hulk, banishing his monstrous half to hell. In doing so, the Hulk became the Infernal Hulk, a stronger, more demonic version of the character, who eventually broke out of hell. Banner had to come up with a plan alongside Spider-Man and Deadpool, and reversed his banishing spell on the Hulk, recombining himself and the Infernal Hulk together, with Banner's neck then being snapped and sacrificed in order to keep the Infernal Hulk from ever taking control of his body and breaking free. Up next at number 7, Ghost Spider. Ghost Spider is the Peter Parker of Earth 11638, an Earth where Uncle Ben never died and actually aided Peter with his superpowers, and Peter created a company called Parker Technologies, which made him super rich. Operating under the mantle of Amazing Spider, he ended up dying, and Bruce Banner, the Sorcerer Supreme from our last number, because this takes place on the same Earth, would strike a deal with him after Banner had gone to hell with his angrier half. Parker was freed, infused with the spirits and powers of the repentant damned, turning him into an amalgamation of Ghost Rider and Spider-Man, known as Ghost Spider. His abilities were a combination of both the Web-Slingers and Jonathan Blazes from Earth 616. And at number 6, the Dark Avengers. Let's talk about an alternate version of the Avengers, as in the whole team, that appeared on Earth 616 since 2009. The Dark Avengers. The first iteration of the Dark Avengers was assembled by Norman Osborn, who at that point was an anti-hero of sorts. The first group included Sentry, Ares, Novar, Mac Gargan's Venom, Moonstone, who portrayed Miss Marvel, Bullseye, who was portraying Hawkeye, and Daken, Wolverine's son, who operated under his father's mantle. Osborn led the team as Iron Patriot. Hawkeye, as his Ronin persona, then goes public on television declaring Osborn a threat, reminding everyone of his murderous past, in case y'all forgot, which only begins a series of unfortunate events for the team leader, who later finds himself manipulated by Loki, relapsing into his Green Goblin persona, and declaring war on the Asgardians. Talk about a relapse. A second iteration of the team post the Fear Itself story event was made up of another group of characters who portrayed Avengers members. Tommy Shishido was the Wolverine of the group, Scar, Hulk's son, fit into the role of his father, and Ragnarok took on Thor's role, to name a few. Moving on to number 5, Iron Hammer. Recently, Marvel released a story arc known as Infinity Warps. It was a story in which Gamora had possession of the Infinity Stones and folded the Marvel Universe in half inside of the Soul Gem, which combined different characters' personas into one, leading to a bunch of mashups of Marvel characters. This one is the combination of Thor and Tony Stark's Iron Man, called Stark Odin's Son, in which Tony was the son of the chieftain executive of Asgard. Due to his arrogance and vanity, Stark was stripped of his godhood until he learned the pain and loss of being human. Stark would awake on Earth with no memory of his past, but then use his genius-level intellect to build up a tech industrial company, creating himself a suit of armor when he was captured and kept prisoner by Dark Elves. See what they did there? They're just taking all the things and mashing it together. And at 4, Thor-El from Earth 9602. Back in the 90s, DC Comics came together with Marvel to create the Amalgam Universe, a universe in which the characters of DC and Marvel universes were amalgamated. In it, we were introduced to the combination of Thor and DC's Man of Steel, Superman, creating Thor-El. While he didn't get a whole lot of panel time and the character's true extent of his powers were never fully explored, he was considered to be the Kryptonian Thunder God, wielding an energy mallet along with having the combined powers of Thor and Superman, or rather, the blue energy of Superman. His one weakness is Noranite, similar to Kryptonite. Moving on to number 3, Weapon Hex. Weapon Hex is the Infinity Warp version of X-23 Laura Kinney and Wanda Maximoff's Scarlet Witch. witch. And just like the other Infinity Warp's amalgamations, Weapon X has all the same powers as Laura and Wanda combined. Meaning, she's got magical reality warping abilities, meets the claws and healing factors and adamantium skeleton of X-23. Her history is similar to X-23's, having been an experiment that was raised by scientist Sarah Kinney. Except this time, rather than it be a part of the Weapon X program, Sarah was part of an occult scientific sect known as the Evolutionaries. She would later become a member of the Defenders alongside other warped heroes. Speaking of, in at number 2, Soldier Supreme. The last of the Infinity Warp's combos on our list. Here we have the amalgamation of Sorcerer Supreme Dr. Stephen Strange and America's most patriotic hero, Steve Rogers. Soldier Supreme's story begins during World War II, with the Super Soldier Serum being a cover for mystical rituals which give Stephen Rogers his strength and physicality, all while giving him the magical abilities of Strange and access to powerful sorcery. He would go on to fight Dormammu Red, the combination of Dormammu and Red Skull, only to be banished to the Dark Dimension for years. Rogers would live there before finding a way out when a satanic cult opened up a portal to their world. Is that worse than being frozen alive? I think it might actually be. Fighting demons all the time? And finally, in at 1, Zombie Hulk. While Zombie Hulk might not be the first alternate to come to mind when you think of the strongest alternates in the multiverse, he's a character who managed to get himself the power cosmic, all thanks to mowing down on the Silver Surfer. So let's backtrack here for a second. Zombie Hulk, aka Bruce Banner of Earth 2149, was infected by the zombie plague after Nick Fury requested his help in trying to resist against it. That clearly did not work out too well, and after he became a zombie, he went around chewing down on a bunch of different characters on Earth 2149. Alongside Wolverine, Iron Man, Power Man, Spider-Man, and Giant Man, he ate Silver Surfer and later Galactus, making him into one of the zombie Galacti. This means he has the power to absorb and tap into ambient cosmic energy. While we never see him use the full extent of his abilities granted thanks to the power cosmic, he does end up smashing Thanos' head in with his bare hands. Something he does because the Mad Titan calls him out for eating more than his share.
Number 10. Venom Clint Barton. Hawkeye. The Venom symbiote gets around, but Eddie will always be its true love. This venomized Hawkeye does not come from the Venomverse storyline. Surprise. In this world, Clint was possessed by the symbiote after Mac Gargan, aka the Scorpion, who was rocking it during his tenure on the Dark Avengers. He exists in a reality known as the War Zone, one of the remnants of realities left after the Secret Wars in 2015. This one is an alternate Earth in which the first Civil War, because yes, at this time there is more than one, there's two, after the first and better but still a hot mess Civil War, never ended. Instead, the country was divided into two sections, one ruled by Tony called the Iron and the other by Cap called the Blue. So Venom Clint was recruited by Spidey to infiltrate the Iron, which he agreed to for revenge, a dish best served through secret stealth operations. Why revenge? Not fully explained, but that's fine. So with this you have the symbiote's abilities, which of course include the heightened senses and strength, the augmentation of adrenaline and healing factor, the creation / manifestations of one's violent creations or thoughts, on top of Hawkeye's marksmanship, and in this universe, his rage. The symbiote does well when bonded to someone with anger issues. I guess there are so many Clintar now I can't just say the symbiote, but I'll always think of Venom first. Number 9. Jewel from Earth 523002. So Jewel is Jessica Jones, a character introduced in Alias, the first outing of the Max Marvel Comics imprint, a place where more adult and brutal stories could be told. In her original arc, Jessica had barely begun her superhero career when she is waylaid by the Purple Man, who takes her as his mind-controlled slave. Until tiring of her, he sicks her on the Avengers, who she attacks in a brainwashed rage, so they brutally beat her into a coma. Upon being aided into wakefulness by Jean Grey, in the original arc she retires for a time to be a private detective, and spends years sorting through her pain, trauma, and complicated relationship with her abilities. But of course, this is Marvel, so we have what ifs. This what if from 2005 is called What If Jessica Jones Had Joined the Avengers? In this universe, after awakening from her coma and being offered a "we're sorry we beat you nearly to death" spot on the team, she accepts. I'm telling you, they're just offering it out to everybody. She starts her career as an Avenger, and eventually starts a relationship with and marries Captain America. This Avengers team thus gets a strong new member, one ready to fight, with all of Jessica's latent abilities, super strength, flight, durability, and thanks to Jean, telepathic resistance to help her resist the Purple Man in the future. She's low, cause in the superhero world that's a pretty standard power set, plus in the main verse she joins the Avengers later anyways. Number 8. Iron Patriot, Tony Stark. Not Norman Osborn, from Contest of Champions. This version of Tony is so twisted, I kinda love it. So for this we need to go back to the Illuminati, the superhero team determined to preemptively protect the universe from threats, and Reed's on the team, so you know it can come to no good. In their quest to keep people safe, they hunt down the Infinity Stones to form the Gauntlet, and Reed tried to wish them out of existence. However, the Watcher shows up to tell them that that isn't actually possible, as the universe needs the stones to exist. So instead, the stones are divided amongst the members of the Illuminati. Tony gets the Reality Stone, and this reality, he uses it, and begins subtly shifting reality during Civil War in his favor. He saved Steve though, so yay. But he made himself president. Under his tenure, he created the Mighty Avengers, and functions as their leader, the Iron Patriot. Through some Battle Realm Maestro Hulk shenanigans, he is separated from his Reality Stone, but with it, in his home universe, he was a force to be reckoned with. The stones are meant to tempt their users, and this Tony just couldn't resist the pull. The power to do what everyone wants. Good stone. Good stone. Number 7. Wanda Maximoff from Earth 10082. Famine in this universe. In this universe, the Scarlet Witch has been turned into one of Apocalypse's 4 horsemen, specifically Famine. Her fellow horsemen in this universe were Wolverine, Spider-Man, and Red Hulk. They appeared as part of the Heroic Age event, and were really just there for a bit of shock, especially for Spider-Man, who was all, "Oh, me a horseman of the apocalypse? How could this be?" Still, the idea of Scarlet Witch with all of her destructive reality warping, or in some cases destroying powers, combined with augmented powers of one of Apocalypse's horsemen, people would be dropping dead on the spot. But the Avengers still defeat them, cause heroes. Avengers assemble! Number 6. Thunderstrike, Eric Masterson. Now I can see some of your feathers getting ruffled, but stay with me a moment. Eric Masterson is one of the many other characters to take on the mantle of Thor. However, initially when this character appeared, he was Thor. The two were fused together. In fact, it was kind of awful for Eric, because both of their personalities were in there, like an angry thunderous firestorm. However, the two were separated after Thor killed Loki, and was banished. But he begged for Eric, who he had become fond of, to not be left defenseless, especially not after having been Thor. So Heimdall causes Eric to become the new Thor, with all the Thunder God's powers, but this time with his own mind, 100%. He very quickly after, due to fans', let's say, feedback, became Thunderstrike, his own character, but still Thor, with an axe, called Thunderstrike. So he's named after his weapon, basically. Still, it's a solid weapon name. However, for his time as Thor, he was an Avenger with all of Thor's powers, but he was only kinda Thor. Feeling my reach? Put some stretch into it. He did better on his own. I know some of you were mad he was on my worst Avengers list. I still maintain he was better being a secret defender with Rhodey. Yes, you can be strong, and I still want you solo. Bow to my whims. Number 5. The MCU's Avengers. They get a mention mid-ranked. I know some don't consider them alternates, but well, they are. The main verse is 616. Everyone else just wishes they were. Well, not really. Some people have way better alternate realities. This team has been one followed by the public, and for some is who they think of when they think of the Avengers. They came together to defeat Thanos and solve their version of the Infinity Gauntlet arc, bringing back half of the universe, even after being torn apart by Civil War. Impressive, and a cinematic event to behold. Number 4. Natalia Romanova, the Iron Spider of Earth TRN 619. So she's a member of President Stark's Mighty Avengers, and had a similar history to her 616 counterpart, until things were altered by Tony using the Reality Stone. When Tony picked her to be a member of his team, he gave her the Iron Spider armor. So we have Natasha, with all of her training and ruthlessness, with an Iron Spider suit, cause well, Spider-Man is on the other side. So she gets all the perks that armor has to bring, which is a lot, and she gets to look good doing it. Man, Tony and Pierre's relationship was really messed up by Civil War. Can you imagine now he sees Black Widow in his old armor? Just, well, it's on. Or it would be if this universe hadn't come to an end. Number 3. Vampire Avengers. Gotta love a whole team of vampires. Well, you don't, but I do. These Avengers come from Earth 3931, and were all turned by Captain America, who was turned by Baron Blood. In fact, he got turned all the way back during World War II. His Avengers are all his personal slaves. Some people retain their sense of self after they turn, and some people just go full scorched earth. This team went up against the Exiles, and it did not go well. Still, this Cap had his serumness plus an additional vampire boost on top. The strength, the mesmerization, the teleportation, he was stacked. It would be nice to see Vamp Cap again. He's like Capwolf for me, just more supernatural Steve Rogers. Transformation on top of transformation. Number 2. Let's stay in the same vein with the Undead Avengers. Yes, there are different types of undead. It encompasses a wide breadth of creatures. These Avengers come from Earth 666. Cute. They've got Frankencastle, which I maintain still sounds like a cereal. So not much is known about this Earth, except that it's made up of supernatural creatures, and the societal structure is based around all these subgroups. And the best of each group united to form these Avengers as a representation that all these groups could work together and protect this supernatural Earth. Inspiring. And come on, you know a hero team featuring vampires, werewolves, zombies, witches, etc. has got to be awesome. All the bonus damage they can take and wreak. I mean, are they good? I don't know. Number 1, Rogue Danvers. This is actually 2 characters, let me explain. So this rogue was Carol Danvers, and still kinda is. This character hails from Earth 9289, which was briefly visited by the main-verse Captain Marvel. In this universe, the transference of power between her and Rogue went differently. In this world, Rogue held on too long. Well, too long comparatively, and ended up absorbing more than Carol's power, i.e. strength, flight, etc., her memories, and her personality. In fact, she held on so long that Carol did too. It went both ways, and instead of slipping into a coma like she did in the 616 verse, she absorbed Rogue's powers and personality. So in essence, they swapped. So Carol is Rogue and Rogue is Carol. So I'm counting both. We have a nerfed up Captain Marvel post-binary Exet and Rogue. That's a lot of a lot. Cosmic absorption power. The main verse Carol encounters these two while peering across the multiverse to encounter other versions of herself with the Reality Stone during Infinity Countdown Captain Marvel. That's a mouthful.